So, interesting episode of the podcast today. I speak to James Corr from Peak Creative on how to achieve your goals using video. James is one of our newer partners, but has really proved his worth already with some of the work he's been doing with us. And he's going to talk about how he got into video and how recruiters can solve their problems using video, also around how people adopt it, how people consume it. So if you're not using video, it's worth a listen. And if you are using video, it might be worth checking how you're doing with it. So hope you enjoy the episode. So welcome to the RecWired podcast. Today we've got James Corr from Peak Creative. James has been a partner with the group for a few months now. He's come and filmed our drinks event. He's come and filmed the Doherty's mastermind course material. And more recently, he's currently recovering from the Rec Expo and all the associated things that go on with that. So welcome to the show, James.
Cheers, Andy. Happy to be here. I think recovering is probably the best phrase to use when coming back from the expo.
This is the first expo you've been to, yeah?
Yeah, first expo just been then, and yeah, it was a lot better than I thought it was going to be. In all honesty, I didn't really have a kind of a idea of what it was going to be like, kind of going in, but yeah, miles better than what I thought it was going to be like.
So for those who haven't been to the Rec Expo, sort of describe it from someone with fresh eyes.
Fresh eyes. It's the best way I could describe it. And I was saying this to Paul, who was there with me, who was helping me film, who's part of the team. And it was like, it's like CES, but for recruitment. So CES is in like the tech show, like Samsung and Apple and all those companies are there. It's like that, but for recruitment. And then at night, there's like a million piss-ups going around London of different people at the expo. So it's like, it was really good. It was really good to just like see all the different people, all the different companies. A lot of the companies I hadn't even heard of who were at the expo. What they were doing was like really interesting. And so it was just really cool to just like go out and speak to people, finally get, the most cliche thing ever is just finally get out and speak to people face to face. But like it actually just was, and just kind of seeing what everyone else is up to in the recruitment industry, I thought was just like really, really interesting.
I guess if you didn't know who they were and now you do, the expos, sort of that's its purpose, I guess.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah. No, it was really good.
Congratulations to the organisers. You know, it's work. So for those who don't know you, James, tell us about yourself, who you are, what you do.
So, well, I'm James. I'm founder of Peak Creative. We're a video production company specializing in helping recruitment agencies create what we call objective-driven content. So content that has a goal. So whether that's attracting candidates, clients, talent to your business, leads, it's kind of anything like that. My kind of story or my journey into everything was, I've been involved in video for 6-7 years, and I've always had like fascination of like storytelling. So like documentaries really kind of like appealed to me when I was learning video, because it's the process of bringing someone through a story, and how do you visually tell a story in a engaging, excuse the buzzwords, but engaging way that keeps people almost on the edge of their seat throughout the story. And I've just always had a fascination in that. And how do you become a great storyteller with video? And I think that then leaked into doing a lot of like commercial projects for companies, where it's like, okay, I've spent the last few years trying to learn how to tell a story through video, but how do we bring a viewer through a story for a company to then want to take a certain action at the end of that video? And so I just kind of went down that rabbit hole for like 6 or 7 years in video, really tried to learn the kind of storytelling aspect of it all. And yeah, and then I was a freelancer at one point for about 2 years, just over 2 years. I found myself about a year in, around about the time of COVID, when all that kicked off in 2020. And that's 2 years ago now, which is just absolutely insane. I found myself at a position where I was doing work for like pretty much any kind of client that would come my way, and very much just kind of like solo freelancing. And about 80% of the clients I was working for were recruitment companies.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, that's interesting. Why is that? And I started speaking to a couple of people who ended up referring those clients to me. I started speaking to those clients and just saying, look, what's the reason why we keep working together? Not as blunt as that, but kind of along those lines. And I just got like really good answers to those questions. And I just thought then, a few months into COVID, why not go all in on this and make it a brand and give a shot at trying to build a brand that's a little bit different and specializes in one thing. And then here we are.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely spot on that. It's all about niche. So once you develop a niche, and you see some great players in our industry that all they do is just focus on one particular niche, and then they become famous in that niche, and they get repeatedly good at doing it. So if I think about people like Barry, for example, everyone knows Backdoor Barry, and he does one thing, he does it repeatedly well. And there's all of the others. If you look at the sort of video interview firms like Odro and Hinterview, again, they're just very focused on that one niche, and they effectively do video interviewing just for the recruiters. So yeah, it's incredibly powerful to do that. How have you found that working in the niche has helped you grow your business?
Yeah, it's been really good. I think I was actually having this conversation with a friend of mine the other day, and what I was saying to him was, as a freelance videographer, it's quite hard to explain what you do when you work with so many different companies. Like you can make it quite generic, and you can say, we tell stories, we make visual stories, or kind of something along those lines. But like when you serve so many customers, like it's quite hard to tell what you do. But what I've found so far with niching down into recruitment is that like I can get very specific with what we do, and that's a lot easier than to explain to someone what we do, because I can say, well, we make objective-driven video content for recruitment agencies. Like that's a lot easier to explain. It's also a lot easier to like help clients, because I found that the problems that agencies will have when they come to us are more often than not the same problem, just framed differently. So it's like once we have a solution with a type of video content, that kind of applies to like so many people. Whereas when you work with so many different companies, like people in the fashion industry, people in the fitness industry, people in restaurants, like all these type of industries, when you're kind of a generic freelancer, that's a lot harder, because everything is like coming up with ideas from the drawing board per project, like completely from scratch. So I found it's like really, really helpful, and just it's a lot more enjoyable as well to just work with so many more people in the industry. Yeah.
So if you're a recruitment founder or even a recruiter, and you're listening to this now or watching this, and you're thinking, okay, I don't do anything with video now, why should someone use video to advance their recruitment business? What are the use cases you've seen done well?
Yeah, so like video is, everyone probably has an idea right now that video is the way to go. I think like most of us kind of know we should be doing it. but
what informs that? We know we should be doing it, but what informs that? Because that's a learned behavior. So what's the evidence behind it? Being Mr. Simple, what's the evidence that video works?
Yeah, well, I mean, the internet's very visual, isn't it? I mean, at the minute, the current state of the internet is very visual, and it's just going to get more and more visual as it goes into things like Meta and all that kind of stuff as it goes. That's down the line, but like it's very visual. And so to capture someone's attention in the right way, you need something visual to do that. I mean, most of us are on our phones pretty much all the time. We're scrolling. I think the data is something like, you have to catch someone's attention within the first like 1.8 seconds or something. Wow. Even less than that when they're scrolling to stop them scrolling and get their attention. And so video, more often than not, is the best way to do that. There's also like tons of studies on information retention on video, which is really interesting. From the top of my head, I'm pretty sure we have it on our website, but it's something like 95% of information when it's consumed in a video is retained over a period of time. Whereas like if you just read it on a text post or read it on an image, it's like 10% or 15% or something like that. So like even there's a massive difference in terms of information retention. I think just the current state of the internet, the way it's going to keep going, because it's just going to get more and more visual and more kind of towards video and things like that. I think like just investing in making good video content is really important. But like that doesn't even have to be like massive cameras or anything like that, because although we have like rigs and cameras and lights, and I've got a little rig there behind me on the fridge. But like even though we've got rigs and cameras and lights and like thousands of pounds of equipment, like you don't need it. Like you can just whack out your phone, film a video, make sure you look and sound good, and just whack it on social media, whack it online, and see what happens. Like most of us are accustomed to iPhone videos.
You
TikTok
say
videos.
that most of you are accustomed. Do you see a generational gap? Because I'm guessing I'm slightly older than you. So yeah, and I sort of see with my kids, they video native, they Instagram, TikTok, they consume everything on reels, on video. So I get that. Typically, you're sort of more conservative recruitment founders. Have you found that it's a generational thing that they're very uncomfortable getting in front of that camera?
I think so is the answer. And the reason I say that is because I reckon it's because a lot of younger people, and I'd probably say people even younger than me, have just grown up in that environment of TikTok, of Instagram, of these platforms. And that does have an effect on your behavior and how you view things and how you are, or how open you are to doing like video content and things like that. I mean, if you look at a great example is like TikTok. Like pretty much all the content on TikTok is filmed on a phone. And I think the age demographic data is changing now so that it's actually more like millennials that are the bigger audience than it is like Gen Zs, like really young people. At one point, majority of the users were Gen Z or like young people, and they're all just whacking out their phone, filming content. And then that's then leaking into other platforms. So doing it on things like LinkedIn and Instagram. So I think it is a generational thing, just because of they've grown up in that environment. This is something that's like, when you really think about it, this has never happened before in like the history of humankind. It's like the internet, TikTok has never been around before. So it's like that naturally has an effect on your behavior. I think it's a good thing that it's going more towards more relaxed video content. Not everything has to be so like proper and very well edited and very like everything has to be, I don't think corporate's the right word, but proper and formal. I think it's kind of taking off the shackles a little bit. And yeah, I think we should all be embracing some bit of free thinking creativity when it comes to videos.
I had Rich Gibbard on the podcast a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking about how to make a video viral. And the next day, when dropped one, and last time I looked, it was about 2 million views, and literally did a million in a day.
That's not his LinkedIn memes, is it, that I've been seeing?
Yeah. So it was he'd obviously relabeled a meme of a recruiter chasing around a candidate, which is obviously a great metaphor for the current market. And I think that resonated so much with people. But just a really simple 15-20 second bit of content that just literally went around the world. And it's interesting to see how that is a very visual thing, and obviously very humorous, not particularly business focused, but actually worked very well on LinkedIn. And Rich probably doesn't need to speak to me anymore now. He's an international.
He's famous now. We'll see him on LinkedIn
influencer. But yeah, I think very much as well. It's about being comfortable doing video. I mean, I actually got to know. I felt when I first met Dalter and Charlotte, I'd already met them and known them because I'd watched their videos when they were going out to New York. And actually, it's probably the reason we ended up talking, because when I was talking to Rex, he was probably the most public of them, and I'd retained a lot of what he did through watching his videos. So yeah, I sort of get that. So thinking it back through, your points are absolutely spot on around how people retain information. They don't necessarily use it then, but I do remember then coming back to him because he's very visual, very media driven.
Yeah, so, I mean, sorry to interrupt, but like just if you look at a great example of that is YouTubers, right? So we've seen this weird shift in celebrities and like who's becoming famous and who isn't. And a big chunk of that is YouTubers, because so many people watch them. And you made a good point there where it's like you almost felt like you knew Dalter and Charlotte before you met them because you'd consumed a number of pieces of their content beforehand. And I think that, like, I don't think everyone wants to be the next Logan Paul, or I don't think everyone wants to be the next KSI, but I think that's a big part of it, where when you're putting video content out there, you are almost building some sort of a relationship with people you don't know or even met. But they feel like they know you, and they may feel like they've met you before. And I think that that's a really powerful thing.
Yeah, I mean, we sort of see it with the podcast as well, and that we're obviously building up our brand and doing shows like this, talking to interesting people. But the great thing about video is you can repurpose it. You can just use it again, and slice it, dice it, move it. So yeah, pretty ubiquitous. So James, I'm sat here. I'm a recruitment founder. I'm thinking, right, this video stuff sounds great. What can you do for me? What services does Peak Creative provide?
Yeah, so it kind of comes down to what your goals are as an agency, and kind of what your goals are for the next couple of months. Going back to what I said before, when I said we create what we call objective-driven content for recruitment agencies, that comes down to the goals. So are you looking to hire more talent into the agency in order to reach your goals? Are you looking to attract more candidates? Are you looking to attract more clients? Like what are the goals? And then we create content around those goals. So that could be anything from going to the hiring talent example, creating more employer branding content. So why not create a series of 6 interviews, for example? This works really well, or has worked really well recently. A series of 6 interviews with different members of the team, all talking about their experiences of what it's like working for X company. So getting someone from all the way from the CEO to a trainee or someone fairly new to the company, and just honest chat about what it's like to work at the company. And you get a lot of natural responses from that, especially when it's us filming it and not the CEO filming the newly recruited consultants about what it's like to work at the company, because obviously they're not going to say anything but great stuff. But like, we get a lot of really good responses, and that seems to work really well. And you can do like a number of other things, like podcasts are a great example. So we do a lot of podcast editing to bring more kind of eyeballs onto your business and your personal brand, and things like about us videos for the company, kind of testimonial videos from clients. It kind of our video content revolves around just the goals of what it is your agency is looking to achieve, essentially. And then we just create all the content around that.
So basically, if someone asks me, what does James do? I'm like, he'll help you hit your goals just by using video.
Yeah, that's an easy way to put it.
All right, I'll remember that. That could actually be the title, because I always look for the title of the podcast to actually, so if someone's thinking about listening to it or not. So basically, hit your goals using video.
Yeah, there you go. That's the title. Smashing.
I like that. Now, what's really interesting, before we started recording, you said, I'm quite nervous about this because normally I do video and I'm on video and I can edit it and I can change it, but we're going out live. So how have you found it?
It's been all right. So I'm actually going to admit to something here. I tell people all the time to do video content and be natural in front of the camera. I probably think of myself as one of the least natural people in front of the camera. And I don't know why that is, because you'd think, well, James films stuff all the time, surely he's good on camera. But I always get like these weird jitters before we do any type of filming. So I'll probably sound like a little bit of a hypocrite to some people, like do this, do that. But then I always get like pretty nervous before doing content. But I think it's a little bit normal for most people. But yeah, it's been good. It's content like this is a lot more refreshing to do than it is to be, I suppose, proper all the time and on the ball all the time. So let's just have a bit of a chat and take it easy.
It's a bit of a chat, and obviously it's something we can't pack into a few minutes, how much you actually know and how much you can actually bring. But I think when you're very confident on a topic, it just becomes a conversation as opposed to a real sort of a real struggle. So don't worry, you do come across really well on video.
Yeah, cheers, mate. Cheers, mate. I'm no expert like you, but cheers.
Well, look, I mean, to go back to your point, I probably started doing this podcast a few months ago. Now, I was quite lucky. I'd done a number with Daughter, and he's really good at it. And sort of how you prep for it. I've done a few different podcasts, and I've seen how people have done it. And I'm learning on the job. And I take feedback from people who said, I listened in, or I said this, have you thought about this? And it's great. And just like video, I think it's one of those things that, if you wait for it to be perfect, it's too late. So you need to do it. You need to try it. Once we get some real good viewing figures and listening figures, I'm sure we'll upgrade the equipment, etc., etc. But yeah, it's about getting out there, about doing it, and about putting the content out there. So yeah, much like video, my advice would be that the hardest thing to do is start. So just do that.
I'd probably assume that when you first started doing the podcast, that it felt very alien to you. Or when you first maybe started recording yourself, it felt very alien. And it felt very, maybe not, there's certain levels of comfort to some people with how they feel about it. But I bet it felt odd, like it didn't feel natural. And I bet as the more you've done it and the more podcasts you've done, I bet it's just kind of like second nature for you now.
Yeah, it just becomes a conversation, because I'm talking to you like we talk when we're doing our suppliers piece. So I mean, the feedback on you has been amazing. The work you've done for us at the drinks. I know Charlotte and daughter are delighted with the work you've done on the mastermind. I'm looking forward to living vicariously. I couldn't make the expo because of commitments, but yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing all the footage and all how that sort of hangs together as well. And we'll be publishing that on LinkedIn. So I think the best proof of James's work is to go and look at our site and see what he's done. So I'm sure you'll agree with us as well. It's phenomenal. And we only bring in partners into the group who come through recommendation. You've got such solid recommendations that we're like, yeah, okay, we've got to talk to this guy. So anything we can do to broaden your profile, get you out there and get everyone successful with video. So James Corr, how do people find you if they want to hire you?
We're on LinkedIn. That's probably the first place everyone goes, isn't it now? Search me. Like I'm pretty much always on LinkedIn. James Corr, CORR, or Peak Creative. So Peak Creative, 2 separate words. Or go to peakcreative.co.uk, and that's our website. And you can check out kind of all the projects we've done, what people think about us, and what we offer. And they're probably the best ways to get in touch.
Fantastic. Well, hopefully people have liked what they've heard, will like what they see, and come and chat to you about that. Great to catch up again, James. Speak soon.
Awesome. Cheers, Anthony.